You know the physical sensation. Your heart beats faster, your jaw clenches, and your thumbs fly across the glass screen to type a furious, immediate reply to a message that landed the wrong way. Looking at the biological data, you are experiencing a state called flooding. As tension rises, your heart rate spikes, and the amygdala is hijacked. Your brain defaults to a pure fight-or-flight response, taking your rational logic centers completely offline. Modern platforms are engineered to be frictionless. They deliver your words the millisecond you hit send. When you place a flooded, reactive brain inside an environment with zero friction, you create a dangerous, accelerating slip and slide for human anger. To avoid that inevitable collision, people often retreat to the opposite extreme. We send a quick, cowardly, all-good text, swallow the injury, and let the relationship slowly bleed out from weeks of unsaid resentment. A private social journaling app called DunbarrioSolo tackles this exact failure of communication. Inside the app is a locked feature called Repair Mode. It cannot be used to pick a fight with an acquaintance. It only unlocks between two specific users who have a documented, sustained history of mutual care. Once those two people enter the room, they are bound by a single, non-negotiable architectural rule: raw text never crosses from one person to the other. Removing the ability to instantly fire off a message destroys the digital slip and slide. The application replaces it with a deliberate, high-friction staircase, forcing the users to climb slowly through a highly structured sequence of logic. The climb begins with phase 1, called Name. Here, a user types out all of their raw, unedited anger into a private interface. They treat the screen like a safe journal entry, putting down every grievance to get the venom out of their head. To process that venting, the software applies the nonviolent communication framework developed by clinical psychologist Rosenberg. This interface shows the raw text in the top block. The AI extracts objective events, underlying feelings, and unmet needs, stripping away sarcasm. Panning down to the mascot's mirror block, we see the AI-generated neutralized prose. The writer must explicitly approve the summary to proceed. In phase 2, this specific countdown timer appears, enforcing a mandatory delay. It locks the users out of the next step for a jointly chosen period, which can last anywhere from 30 minutes to 7 days. That pause fulfills a strict psychological necessity. Temporal distance allows the biological flooding to subside. Setting the conflict down for a day chemically dissolves the bond between the heat of the anger and the reality of the event. This is the recipient's view during phase 3. The approved summary arrives broken down into discrete, isolated points, accompanied by specific response actions. The reader can process the pain granularly, rather than defending themselves against an overwhelming wall of text. Look closely at the mascot's intervention text, triggered by the "Help me sit with this" button. It reminds the user that two people can hurt from different angles, removing the pressure to fix the conflict right now, and short-circuiting the instinct to counterattack. With the anger named and received, phase 4 shifts the chronological focus. The users move from analyzing the past grievances to establishing the specific conditions required for the future. The software imposes another strict constraint here. The users cannot write out a long list of desired apologies. They are required to name one single, load-bearing condition that must be met for the relationship to remain workable. Handing someone a list of 15 demands immediately invites negotiation and resentment. By identifying a single foundation, the users lay down an objective, structural floor that the relationship can actually stand on. This editable interface in phase 5 is where the ultimate crossing occurs. For the first time, one person's actual composed words are drafted to be sent directly, without being entirely rewritten by the AI. Before sending, the system runs a final check. Look at the flagged phrase. That's on both of us. The AI pauses the user to explain how this exact wording distributes blame, likely landing as a defensive hedge. The system does not lock the keyboard or censor the user's truth. It simply brings conscious awareness to the clumsy microdynamics of human language, the small, thoughtless jabs that usually trigger fatal secondary arguments. Finally, this private observation block in phase 6 maps exactly how the user's emotional perspective shifted across the entire sequence. Yet, despite guiding the users all the way to this point, the software actively refuses to force a tidy resolution. The system offers two equal archive states: resolved, and irresolvable. Some people drift out of phase, and some harms cannot be fixed. Treating an honest, unbridgeable gap as a failure is its own form of psychological harm. The purpose of carefully structuring a conflict is to discover what is true between two people. Whether the connection is saved or permanently ended, handling the outcome with clarity is what matters. As the system notes when a session closes, "This was named, held, and set down with care." That is enough.